One small step for Steve, but one giant leap for Minecraft kind. Let's break into space with the Spacebreaker origin created by the user known as Ghost from the Origins Discord server. We are also using the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 mod to have the actual model that I'm using in this video created by the user known as Manual from their Discord server, which you can find linked to all of that at the actual 𝓵𝓲𝓷 mod's website itself. The Spacebreaker is a 3-impact origin running through the description and an incredible ability to bend the space at his mercy, provide him with the ability to remain unnoticed for a long time. Know what their secrets are. One big word of information with this origin here, the data pack downloads that I'm going to provide you down below contains not one but 2 different data packs. Basically, you want to unzip the main folder and take the 2 individual folders and copy them both into your data pack folder. Basically, it's a very important thing to keep in mind so you can actually use this origin. But without further ado, let's get into the actual abilities. Moving into the first ability, we have Unique Power. His species managed to adapt to make use of this fragile region of space where all dimensions come together. Thanks to that, you have the ability to enter and exit any dimension. This is your primary ability, and just strap in for a moment here. This is very interesting, but it's also probably the most unique ability I've ever seen when it comes to these type of origins. Basically, whenever you use your primary ability, you'll be teleported into this new dimension. But when you do that, it will also teleport the region of land that you're currently on into this new dimension as well. When you first go in here, you'll see only the small bit of region of land that you were standing on. Basically, any of the land that was there, as well as the mobs that were around you, will teleport with you into this dimension. When you go there for the first time, everything else will be just white concrete. You can't break anything. All you see is white concrete plus a little bit of land that you brought in with you. And you want to bring in something even cooler than just a bit of land, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, as it'd be highly appreciated as we're trying to get to 100k before the end of the year. Going back to this ability, in order to go back to the overworld, or whatever dimension you are currently in, you just hold your shift as well as the primary ability button at the same time whilst you're in the land that you took with you. If you do this whilst you're over the top of white concrete, the ability will not function whatsoever. But the moment you do it on over the top of the land you brought into the world with you, you'll be teleported back to that spot into the other dimension. This works not only in the overworld, but in the nether dimension as well as the end. Basically, the blocks that it will transfer with you is dirt, grass, sand, red sand, stone, gravel, ice, mycelium, snow, cobblestone, and terracotta, which will return to the overworld. Netherrack, soul sand, soul soil, basalt, magma blocks, nether bricks, blackstone, and bone blocks for the nether, and endstone and purple blocks for the end. Basically, it's a really cool ability that can allow you to create amalgamation of many different types of blocks all in the one hub dimension, because the idea behind this is it's basically a dimensional rift, where it's a rift fusion between multiple all the dimensions into this one area. This ability is really cool, and just for anything, I suggest you check out the origin just for this ability alone. But be warned, whenever you do use your primary ability, it will transfer you to survival mode, and as long as you're in the other dimension, you'll be forced into survival mode, because even when you transfer to creative mode, it will automatically turn you back to survival mode almost immediately. Moving into your next ability, you've got the white hole ability. With the secondary key, you open up a hole in space that carries with it the harmful air of your dimension. This applies to all mobs within the radius of 10 blocks. They get given with it too for 10 seconds. This has a 2.5 minute cooldown because you're a pacifist. So his ability overall is pretty simple to understand. When you press it, you give everything around you within a 10 block radius with it 2 for 10 seconds. This will kill most things pretty quickly and easily, like pigs, chickens, any form of basic passive mobs, and some hostile mobs will die via this pretty easily. But again, you can only use the ability like every 2-ish minutes, so this ability might be helpful in very sticky situations, but overall I don't see a point of it being too useful. Moving to the next ability, you've got the personalized rift ability. You can create a dimensional rift where you store things. Press your save toolbar key to activate the ability, and you can change it in your controls. Basically, the save toolbar key is normally bound to C by default unless you have Optifine installed. If you have Optifine installed, it will automatically unbind that from that button, so you don't have to go bind it yourself if it's not binded. But basically what this is, it's a 9-slot inventory thing, kind of similar to what the Shulk has, to what the Fox has, and to what many other origins has. It's just a 9-slot inventory where you die, you don't lose the items within it. Moving into the next ability, you've got the Owner. You are the creators and the only ones who can come here. For millennia, this region of space has only served as a means for transport for your species, since any fluctuation can cause everything to collapse. You can't interact with things here, or they can't either. You can't break blocks, you can't open chests, you don't take damage, etc. But you've gained the ability to dive in the air thanks to its composition. This helps you to travel faster. Now this thing right here should help you understand like the key reason why you want to use this ability. Why would you use your primary ability since you can't really do anything else inside there except for collect land? The idea behind this ability is to allow you to pretty much collect land into this other area, which has an easier way for you to travel throughout the lands. Because you're able to swim in the air in this biome, in this dimension, whatever you want to call it, you can easily just travel a lot faster in comparison to what you would do in the overworld. But the difference between it here is that you can't break any form of blocks, but you don't take any form of damage. So if you want to escape from the middle of a, let's say it's nighttime, there's a million mobs out where you are, you can use it to escape, so you won't have to deal with taking any damage. You will bring the mobs with you, but they can't hurt you. They can try, but they won't be able to hurt you. They can hurt each other still though, unfortunately. But it's a really cool idea behind it. Basically, because you can use your Shift G ability, so your Shift primary ability key, whenever you're over a certain block of land you've taken into this world with you from using your main ability, you have the ability to do any form of fast traveling throughout the time frame where it's not night or daytime. You don't have to worry about damage, you don't have to worry about anything aside from just traveling to the destination you want to go. This pretty much makes it easier to travel to most places, and it could potentially be used to make it traveling a little bit quicker and less annoying to deal with. Moving into your next ability, you've got light. The atoms that form your body are lost to each dimensional jump, so your body becomes lighter. Basically, the short and simple of it, whenever you're running around in any form of dimension that isn't your weird rift dimension, you will actually jump higher when you're sprinting, but when you're not sprinting, you will just be jumping at the normal height. When you are sprinting, you jump around 3-4 blocks high, but when you're not sprinting, you jump at the normal amount. In layman's terms, you have a jump boost while you're sprinting. Air food. Being here inside satisfies your hunger. Basically, when you're in your personal rift dimension, your hunger / saturation increases at a very drastic rate. Like very, very drastic. You can have pretty much next to no hunger, and you can like 1 heart, and you'll be immediately back to full health and max saturation within a few seconds of being in your main rift dimension. Also mean that it's a lot more difficult to die in that dimension. There are going to be cases where you touch water when you have 1 heart left as you go into that dimension where you will die, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. But there are cases in those examples, but it's also something you just got to keep in mind whenever you're using it. Just whenever you're in this other dimension, you do have a very heavy, healthy increase in your hunger, meaning it makes it quicker for you to actually go from area to area because you also don't have to worry about your hunger. Moving into your next ability, you have the fragile ability. You have 3 less hearts of the health than humans would normally have. Yeah, you pretty much understand this one by just reading it, don't you? Moving into your next ability, you've got unstable. Traveling between dimensions is a very tiring task. Basically, to summarize this one into a very simplified thing, basically you take more exhaustion over time, but also after you finish teleporting to a new dimension for a couple of seconds, a handful of seconds, you'll be entirely frozen. You can jump, but you won't be able to move anywhere. You'll also be taking damage still and have the ability to do that, as well as when you try to go into your normal dimension, to your rift dimension, you won't actually get given the hunger saturation boost until these few seconds are over, meaning that brief moment there, if you teleport into the other dimension, you're still getting hit, or you teleport into water, you still can die there because there's a few seconds where you're not being given the instantaneous saturation benefits that rift world does to you. So basically just keep it in mind that you do have a faster hunger, you do take a bit of extra damage whilst you're teleporting, as well as the fact that the actual saturation boost that you get in your personal rift dimension doesn't actually take effect until a few seconds after being in that dimension, so you can still die from things like water. Which, by the way, if it hasn't been made clear enough already, you have hydrophobia. You receive damage over time while in contact with water. This is a very weird ability though with this origin. In normal circumstances, when you're in the overworld, it basically acts exactly the same as it would normally, but when you're in your own rift dimension and you've got your instantaneous saturation in effect, it becomes a lot more weirder. You still take the same amount of damage over time, but it takes a lot longer for you to actually be killed by said water, mainly because of the fact that the damage is being healed at such a rapid pace, but it ultimately loses the battle and you still will end up dying potentially. Moving to your next disadvantage, you've got combustion. The air in your dimension is made of very flammable compounds, meaning that you take far more fire damage than the normal Minecraft player would. There is no performance of like any form of times ability. Basically, you take more fire damage. How much more fire damage? An amount. It's not specified in any way, shape, or form. Moving into your next ability, this ability is both a mixture of a benefit and a disadvantage at the same time. Pacifistic but dangerous. Molding the space that you make, your weapons are actually sharper, but you are not used to fighting, so whenever you are hit, there is a chance that you will be hit with the slowness effect at the same time when you take damage. So this ability is essentially a double-edged sword. One side of this sword gives you the bonus of strength, meaning that your damage is overall better. You hit harder with your fist, you hit harder with your sword, everything is a lot more damaging over time, you do a lot more damage overall, but the other side of this sword, the other edge of the sword, is the fact that if you get hit, there is a chance that you'll be given a brief slowness effect. Now, in situations where this could potentially screw you, is if you're running away from creepers and a skeleton or a zombie so happens to hit you, like let's say you run by a zombie and the zombie hits you on your way past them, it may slow you down enough for the potentiality for those creepers to catch up to you and blow up in your face, potentially killing you, and scenarios along those lines. Basically, combat you get a boost in, but you also have a massive disadvantage in. You do more damage, but you also can be slown, meaning that you can't avoid as much damage. It's basically a double-edged sword as I described this ability to be. But anyhow, let me know, what are your thoughts on this origin? Do you think it's overpowered? Do you think it's underpowered? Do you think it needs some balancing? Do you think it's perfectly fine? What are your thoughts on this origin? Let me know down in the comments down below. As always, as you guys are pretty good and pretty smart with these opinions and stuff along those lines. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button down below and make sure to subscribe as well, as it's highly helpful and extremely appreciated. And a massive thank you to my channel members, especially my $25 member Hollow the Void and my $10 member Decept. And until next time guys, bye!